You've come to the right place if you're looking to create, launch, and scale a high-value online training program. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of LifterLMS, the most powerful learning management system for WordPress. Stay to the end. I've got something special for you. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. I'm joined by a special guest. His name is Frank Kane. He's a prolific course creator. You can find him on Udemy. You can also find him on his website, which is Sundog-Education. Just do a Google search for Sundog Education. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I love interviewing education entrepreneurs like yourself. And I'm grateful to, found out that you use our tool, LifterLMS. I want to ask you first, before we get into your story, just to kind of kind of at where you are today. I was looking at the stats on Udemy. You had something like 500,000 students or something like that.
Yeah, it's over 600,000 now, last I checked. And,
okay.
Yeah, just on that one platform.
Give us some numbers, just like for Udemy, like or just your empire, like 600,000 students, how many courses, how many years doing it? Just give us some data.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing this in like 2013, so it's been a while. It's been a long road, as they say. But today I've got, depends how you count it, I would say like 15 courses, because there's a bunch of like localizations of different courses and stuff that are technically their own course. But yeah, it's really grown over time. I mean, when I started off, my first course was making like $100 a month. But today it's more like 40,000 a month in revenue. So all told, like we said, 600,000 students around the world just on Udemy, and about 2.7 million total revenue from that platform alone.
Wow. That's mind blowing. What's the genesis of you, the course creator?
Yeah, I just kind of was in the right place at the right time. That's kind of a common theme, I think, with people who end up, getting lucky with something. So yeah, if you want to go, there's no like short attention span version of the story, I'm afraid. So give me a couple minutes.
Dude, this is a longer form podcast. Go for it.
Awesome. Yeah. So where do I start? I mean, I was actually a senior manager at Amazon.com in Seattle about 10 years ago, actually. And, I clawed my way up the corporate ladder there and did that whole corporate thing. And it was rough. It's a challenging environment. It still is. But what really got to us over time was the weather. So eventually we decided, can't take the Seattle weather anymore. And I think you came from Alaska, I think you said. So you know what I'm talking about, yeah. Right? This like 2 months where it's nice there. So we packed up my family and decided to move to Florida. And at the time, Amazon had these tax nexus issues where they could not have employees outside of Seattle, basically. So that meant that I had to leave Amazon. So I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I get a real job again, or do I try to strike out on my own and be an entrepreneur? And now's this time as good as any to give it a shot, right? So I started off doing some freelance work and, doing some programming and stuff on the side, things like that. Wasn't a lot of fun because, you're still basically trading your time for money and trading one set of bosses for a different set of bosses at the end of the day. But one of those gigs was actually doing curriculum development for a company in New York City. General Assembly was what they were called. And one thing led to another. So we put out a data science course on General Assembly where I was like making the content for that behind the scenes. And somehow Udemy found that, and they were trying to find people to come onto their platform to teach big data topics and data processing. So they reached out to me. They like literally just cold called me one day and said, "Hey, we're Udemy." I never heard of them at that point. It's a long time ago. We're looking for people to create courses on big data stuff. Would you give it a try? So I'm like, why not? How hard can it be? Right? Turns out it's pretty hard to make a course, especially on technical topics like that. So like I said, I gave it a shot, and that first course did not do well. It was making $100-200 a month at first, but I didn't give up. So I said, okay, well, I put that much time into creating this course. Maybe if I push it a little bit more, it'll get some legs. So I created a second course, and I went back to Udemy and said, give me some advice on creating the right topic and like creating the sorts of courses that resonate with your audience. And I did all that. So I was able to promote that second course to the students of my first course, and it did much, much, much better. And I made a third course and promoted that to the students of my first and second course. And you just kind of building on that like compound interest over time till you get to where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. And what do you think I remember I'm an old school. I might have even been on Udemy before you, but I had like a little cooking class that I did
Yeah.
about making the perfect omelet. Uh, it was a while ago. I think that was 2012 or 13. I'm not sure when you said you started.
I think it was 2013, end of
Okay, but
2013.
you might have beat me. 'Cause I definitely didn't get recruited, but I put it on there, and I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And I didn't really try really hard to market it. It wasn't that serious. But I was fascinated with Udemy. Like at the time, and probably still, one of the top performing courses was a course about how to use Excel, right?
Yeah.
So there's like product. I saw like the millions of students or whatever it was, and there's obviously like product market fit.
Mhm.
What is it about the big data niche that other people could learn from? Is this like helping people get high paying jobs, or like why does this niche really work for online courses on Udemy and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's specific to Udemy. Different platforms have kind of what they specialize in. So Skillshare, for example, they're more on lifestyle things. A cooking class would do well there, for example. Udemy tends to focus more on business related topics and technical topics. So they have a big audience in places like India, where people are really trying to learn technical skills so they can get an awesome job and make more money. So that's kind of the demographic that I'm reaching there. So topic selection is just hugely important, and understanding the audience of the platform that you're on. It's the real key to success.
Now that you say that, I did put a free course on Udemy about LifterLMS, like in
Mhm.
WordPress, and it got a ton of users. Like it was like it was in the tens of thousands. I don't know. It got up pretty high, especially because it was free.
Yeah,
I
that
even
helps.
I hired a developer later who was like who met me through that course, and I'm not even a real developer. I'm more of a power user, and just the exposure of Udemy was really cool. What else do you like about Udemy?
Uh, they're good people. I mean, being one of their top instructors, I get to talk to a lot of the people behind the scenes at every
Yeah.
level. And something that impresses me with Udemy is just the quality of the employees there. They're all nice people. They all really have the best interest of the students at heart and of the instructors. So they're always looking for these win-win situations where everybody ends up benefiting from what they're doing. And these days that's kind of hard to find in companies. It's a stark contrast to some of the other platforms out there. So they're just good to work with.
One of the things I appreciated about them too was they took one of my courses down because I wasn't keeping it updated or
Mhm.
something, and they're actually kind of protecting the quality or the current relevancy, and they wanted to standardize all the graphics at one point. I remember that like
Right.
how do you make a learning platform that doesn't become like a free for all? They seem to strike that balance.
Yeah, it's delicate, right? I mean, they have a huge job in front of them for like policy enforcement. So they have this open platform where basically anybody can submit a course on anything, and there's no standards on how you teach or what your graphic design style needs to be. There are other platforms that are like that, and as a result, they're not very responsive to changing trends in the world. But that's another thing. But yeah, I mean, the thing with Udemy though is that they're like this two-headed beast. They have the open marketplace where everybody can submit their own courses, and then they have Udemy for Business, which is their curated selection of the best courses that are aimed at business users. And that is where they're much more picky, right? So they actually have human beings looking at individual courses, saying, "Hey, this is a good one. This one has good production quality. This is a topic that our customers need. Let's promote that." And that's close to half of their business these days. So that's really growing for them.
I remember a ways back they enforced some like pricing controls in terms of how much you could charge and stuff like that.
Right.
Some people took issue with that. Some people completely fine with it, and then there's all the bundling and stuff like that. But um, particularly around the pricing issue, what are your thoughts on courses and pricing? And obviously, you've moved a lot, and I think Udemy's cap is $50 a course. I could be wrong there, but what's your pricing on that platform?
Generally, I price the list prices around between $25 and $50, depending on
Yeah.
the length of the course and how much competition there is.
Do you ever
But the
feel
thing,
like do you ever feel like that a lot of people talk about like high ticket courses and all that, and I'm
Mhm.
sure you're delivering incredible value helping people get great jobs and everything, but what are your thoughts around that lower end of the price market for courses?
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, right? I mean, I would much rather sell, $100, $200 courses than, $2,005 courses or whatever it works out to.
Right.
But that's the whole way Udemy works. It's all about volume there, right? So they're constantly running sales. People in India, for example, are getting these courses for the equivalent of like $4.99. So if you have, hundreds of thousands of customers, the math works out, but you still have to support those customers, right? So, if you get someone where you only made 80 cents from the transaction after everyone takes their cut, I mean, India taxes get taken out, platform fees come out, Udemy takes their cut. So at the end of the day, you might have a student who's asking you a whole lot of questions in exchange for 80 cents. And, that's not cool. And that's part of the reason why I built my own site using LifterLMS, because there I have complete control over pricing, or what coupons I can issue or can't issue. So if the day comes where Udemy is not paying the bills for whatever reason, maybe they decide they don't like me anymore and kick me off the platform, I've got that sitting there ready to go, where I can offer higher ticket items and, maybe offer more add-ons like, office hours and things like that, or more direct communication with me as an instructor, which I just can't do at the price points of Udemy.
Tell us more about just the decision to build a WordPress LMS site yourself, and what spurred it on, and then why. What's your long-term goal for it?
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking to launch my own site, I looked at all the, plug and play options out there, Teachable and whatnot. I'm like, well, you don't really have a lot of control over it there, right? And hey, I used to make websites at Amazon.com. I think I know what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
So how hard can it be, right? So I figured, I was using WordPress for my blog already anyway. I was familiar with the whole technology stack. Started doing some research on different plugins for LMS solutions on WordPress, and found you guys. And yeah, like within, I think, 2 days, I had my first course up and running on the platform. So it worked out well. But like I said, the long-term goal is mostly a hedge. I want to be able to have something ready to go in the event that disaster strikes. So, for example, we mentioned Skillshare earlier. They came that close to kicking me off the platform at one point.
Why?
Due to some minor policy violation. It
Oh,
was because I remember. Oh yeah, I remember what it was. At one point, they were giving me some advice to promote something, my own website, I think, at some point at the end of the course. And I did that. But the way I did it was that I copied and pasted the same video across all of my courses saying, hey, come visit me at sundogeducation.com. And apparently, reusing videos on different courses is against the rules there. So
oh,
that close to getting booted because of that. But, fortunately, they gave me a chance to correct that and keep me on the platform for most of my courses. But that sort of thing can happen with Udemy or any other platform too, where you don't control it, So I want to make sure that I have a platform of my own where I have complete control over what's going on, just in case some outside thing happens that I need to react to.
that's cool. You've been a course creator for like a decade. It's your job, as you say. Um, how, how do you approach your job, like in terms of content creation time, instructional design time? Do you do a bunch of marketing or not worry about that since you're more kind of in Udemy's flow? Like what is the job like for a pro 10 years in?
I mean, it's all about trying to figure out what the best use of your time is and trying to focus on that as much as possible, which means outsourcing all the other stuff. I mean, it's a very common reframe with any business owner, right? You got to focus on what you're best at and what you're most irreplaceable at. So for me, being in front of the camera, being in front of the microphone, delivering this content, that's what's important. That's what my students are paying for. So that's what I try to spend most of my time doing, just creating new content. Right now, I'm just like going to town, trying to update one of my technical courses to the latest version of that technology. And that's what I'm doing 40 hours a week right now. The other stuff's important too, though. So developing the actual like coding exercises and things like that, I might farm that out to somebody on Upwork, just to save me some time, because that's not something that I'm uniquely qualified to do. Marketing, I hire assistants to help with that as well. So, keeping regular updates on social media, sending out our newsletters, sending out our promotional announcements, things like that. Someone else handles all that. And I also have a couple of people who are kind of the first line of defense for answering questions from students. So, when I get 10,000 questions that I'll say, where do I download the course materials from? Someone else deals with that instead of me. So yeah, it's all about, focusing on what you have to do and outsourcing the rest.
On technical topics for courses, how do you have to spend a lot of time updating? Like, is it like what words of wisdom do you have for somebody who teaches on like a technical topic or something that's going to go out of date and it has a
Yeah.
shelf life.
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from that, quite honestly.
Yeah.
The worst ones are the IT certification courses. So you have these worlds where they have a new certification exam every 6 months, a new version of the exam, and you got to scramble to make sure that you've taken the exam yourself and know what's on it, and turn around and create all the content you need to get that out before the next iteration comes out, right? So um, with the number of courses I have, which aren't that many, like I said, 10 or 15, that's almost a full-time job in and of itself, just keeping those courses up to date. So you want to pick your battles there, right? I mean, IT certification courses can be very lucrative, but they do require a lot of ongoing maintenance. So there's a trade-off there. These days, I'm trying to focus more on evergreen topics. So my most successful course right now, which is kind of a surprise to me, is one about interview tips. How can I get through a system design interview at a big technical employer? And that has just gone gangbusters. And it's beautiful because I'll never have to upgrade it, update it for years and years and years from now. So I'm trying to do more stuff like that. The next one I'm going to do is like, how do you manage the transition from becoming an engineer to a technical manager? I've done that, so I can talk about that. Turns out there's a demand for that course out there, so I can do that, and I'll never have to update it. So I'm really trying to focus on things that are technical but aren't going to go out of date in a month, right? Because it is a lot of work to keep up on that.
That's very cool. What about support? You mentioned like, if somebody's not paying that much and you have to have a million questions or whatever, like how do you think about the support that you offer at the price point that you do? Like how do you how do you frame it in from a customer success standpoint for your students?
I mean, obviously, if someone's having trouble, you got to help them, right? So it's just kind of the cost of doing business. And fortunately, the vast majority of students do not ask questions. A lot of them are just hoarding courses. That's the reality of the matter. They're like, I want to learn this someday. I'm going to buy this for $5 and tuck it away somewhere. And they never actually look at it. It still works out economically because there's such a small percentage of students that actually do want some of your time. That when they do, even though they only individually paid you, $1 or so, there's 100 other students who didn't ask a question at all. So, it still works out financially. But I'm not going to do things like offer, one-on-one, consulting or, personal office hours or anything like that, or, working on your project with you or things like that. It just doesn't make sense at that price point.
How did you learn like the skill of teaching itself? Like, do you have a teaching background or did you have to develop that, or is it from being a manager, or where does your instructional design ability come from to take a topic, chunk it down and make it usable by a learner?
Yeah, a lot of it does come from being in management. I mean, as a manager, you need to teach people how to do new things. And for a while, I was actually conducting new employee training at Amazon for technical stuff, or just introducing people to my organization. But I do not have a formal education background where I've taken courses on instructional design, but I've read about it. I've talked to people who do know what they're talking about and learn from them. So I try to, when I do have the opportunity to talk to an actual instructional designer or someone who actually does have an education degree, I soak up whatever I can from their knowledge and try to apply that. But really, it just comes down into breaking down these topics into subsections and just trying to chunk it up into easily digestible bits, right? I mean, some of it's just common sense. People have short attention spans, so you don't want videos that are too long. People want to get a lot of value for their money, so comprehensive courses do well, but they need to be organized in such a manner where if somebody's looking for a specific task or to learn a specific thing, they can find it quickly, digest it quickly, and go off and apply what they learned.
What about like the content itself? Do you use things like worksheets or you mentioned code challenges or coding exercises? Like what is there in there besides videos that you found effective?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the course, right? So for the certification prep courses, obviously practice exams are hugely important. They want to take what they've learned, they want to take a practice exam that's as close as possible to the real thing, and gain some confidence that they're going to get through this exam successfully. For the coding exercises, though, the problem there is that there's not really a standardized platform for doing that, right? So there's a lot of platforms out there that are offering these sort of sandbox environments for executing Python code or insert your favorite language here. But for things like big data processing or machine learning or deep learning, you need a big expensive cluster in the cloud to really do this stuff. And no one wants to pay for that at $5 per student, right? So the economics, again, at that price point don't work out, which is another good thing about having your own platform. At some point I could build that out myself, give people access to a sandbox in the cloud and just charge more for it. but I can't do that on a platform like Udemy. So instead, I try to give them environments that they can run on their home PC, on their own desktop. I teach them how to set up a virtual environment for running these activities in. And I'll have a video that says, hey, here's your challenge. Go build this thing. Go give it a shot. And then the next video will be, okay, compare it to how I did it. Here's my solution. I'm going to walk you through it. How did that compare to what you did? Do you want to take this further? Here's something else you can do with it. So, it is still video based, but, I give them a lecture on how to set up a development environment on their own to go and experiment and apply what they've learned.
Let's shift gears and look at like kind of the business side of it. How much of your time do you spend on like kind of managing the business of it all in terms of, I don't know, taxes and accounting and all that stuff? Or you try to outsource as much as you can, or how does that work for you?
Fortunately, the accounting arm of Sundog Education is my wife, Carrie. So
Yeah.
once a month, she handles all the tax fun and all the accounting fun. So I don't worry about that too much. For the annual taxes, obviously that's a little bit more work, so I get some involvement in that. And we have a team, right? So I also have a CPA in addition to that for actually filing everything and double checking everything. I've got a lawyer for the legal stuff that we need to go through and contract reviews. But yeah, I try to, like I said, focus as much as possible on just creating content myself. So yeah, I mean, the business side of it's maybe 10% of my time, but I try to outsource the rest of it, so it's no more than that.
What about work-life balance and burnout? Have you had any struggles
Mm,
there or not really? Because, yeah.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, so I'm probably flirting with burnout right now, quite honestly, because I'm in one of these situations where a new version of technology came out and I have to scramble to get a huge course updated to that new version of the technology. And every day that I don't have that out, people are complaining, your course is out of date. I want my money back. Right. So a lot of
Right.
pressure there to get a lot of work done really quickly. And, that's hard, but I do try to take care of myself. And, when this is done, I'm going to give myself a break, take a couple of weeks off, go on a cruise or something, and just try to recharge a little bit. Because after being at Amazon as a manager, you learn really quickly what your limits are and what the warning signs are of when you're going to burn out. So don't want to go back there. You got to watch out.
You mentioned, having to update the course. I know there's not a right answer to this about like how long a course should be or whatever, but just over your career for like a technical course, do they end up being about a certain length of, if you were to add all the videos together to make it, or does it really vary based on the topic?
It varies based on the topic. So whenever you're going to start doing a new course, the first thing is to look at the competing courses on in the marketplace that you're on, right? So in a place like Udemy, where people are paying a fixed amount, pretty much everything's on sale for $10 or $15. If they have a choice between spending $15 on a 20-hour course versus $15 on a 2-hour course, they're going to take the 20-hour course because they're just more perceived value there, right? And even for subscription-based offerings, you're getting paid by the minute consumed at the end of the day. You're being paid based on how many minutes of video people watch of your content. So again, it's to your benefit to have long courses, because if people are watching a 20-hour course, you're going to get a bigger piece of the pie than if it was a 2-hour course. So there's a lot of incentives in place right now for courses to be as long as you can reasonably make them. And ultimately, you're limited by what you can do personally or what your team can do. So typically, my courses end up between 10 and 20 hours, I'd say, on average. Some are shorter. Sometimes I'll do these sponsorship deals. This is kind of like a thing that started happening in the past year or so, where some company will say, hey, we want to get in front of your audience of students. Can we like pay you to create a course on our technology? And if it's something I would have paid anyway, then sure. Usually the economics of that work out to more like a 2-hour course, because they only have so much money they want to spend on something like that. But everyone wins in that case too. It's more content for me that I can sell. They get their name out there. So yeah, the short answer is it depends on the course, on the audience, on the platform, on the topic. Anywhere from 2 to 20 hours.
How edited is it? Your workflow, do you try to get it like one shot, one take, or it's heavily edited? Like, where do you sit on the spectrum?
Oh, it's terrible. I'm editing all over the place, but I have a shortcut. Here's my
Okay.
secret, my dog clicker here. So
Okay.
if I'm blathering about some complex technical thing and I slip up and say the wrong thing, I just hit my clicker there. So then when I go back in to edit it, there's a nice little spike in the waveform there for the audio, and say, oh, I screwed up there. Can zip right to it, edit out whatever I messed up, and get right back to it. So that helps to accelerate the editing a bit. Anyway, I still do my own editing because it's tough to find someone who can do it right for you, and it's not that much work really. So as long as I can make it efficient, it works
That's
out.
cool. That is a pro tip.
Yeah.
Since we're on the gear, could you just, and you've had a lot of experience, what are the key pieces of hardware and software that you use as a course creator? Mics, cameras, video editing, key apps you use or whatever. Like what can you not live without?
Well, the most important thing is my microphone, front and center here. So, especially with technical courses, a lot of what you're doing are screencasts where you're just, showing people on your screen how to do something and you're just this disembodied voice. So for a typical course, I'm not on camera much at all, really, just for the introductory segments, say, hey, I'm a real person. You should like me and, like me. So you give me a good review. I'm not a robot. So yeah, it starts with the mic. This is a Shure SM7B, and it's piped through a Cloudlifter preamp device. The thing with these dynamic mics is that they're really, really low signal, and you need something to boost them before they actually go into anything else. So from the Cloudlifter, it goes to a Blue Icicle, which is basically the USB adapter that goes into my computer. So that's the chain there. I started off with a Blue Yeti, like a lot of people do, but those condensers are super sensitive. So this sounds better, and it doesn't pick up as much noise, which is nice. So that's the audio piece. For software, I use Camtasia mostly because they had a big promotion going on back when I started for Udemy instructors. So I got it for cheap back then, and I've been using it ever since. It does the job. I would like something that had maybe more modern design elements available, but hey, that's not what people are paying for with my courses. They're paying to learn technical stuff. And for video, depends what I'm doing. If it's just like me sitting at the screen doing something, then my webcam is good enough, with a green screen behind me. It's just a Logitech Brio, which is good high definition webcam. But if I'm actually standing in front of a bookshelf or something trying to look professional, that's when I'll get out my old DSLR camera and take video with that instead, with all the, proper lights and whatnot to make it look good. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. We got the mic, got the camera, got the software. That's pretty much all that's required. Camtasia also has a screen recording software that I use as well built in.
Very cool. You mentioned if there's a long course, on Udemy, people same price, higher perceived value is something there. How else do you look at differentiation? I'd imagine you have some competitors in big data, and there's probably new people coming all the time. Yeah. Like, how do you compete and stand out?
The way
and I know you have an early advantage of being there, but you still have to compete. So,
oh, absolutely. You still have to create content that's up to date and has hands-on activities, so people feel like they're actually getting a chance to apply what they're learning. That alone can be a competitive advantage, because so many people just get in front of a camera and blather about the theory of everything. But they don't give you a chance to practice what you've learned. So it takes a lot more work to develop a course that has those hands-on activities. But that's one way that you can differentiate yourself. But the truth is, a lot of it really is first mover advantage on these platforms. So the trick really is finding emerging topics that have not been covered by others yet. And fortunately,
what's an example of that? Like if you had to pick one out of the air for today, like maybe something with autonomous driving tech or something that's newer.
Oh no, that's been beaten to death already. Actually.
Okay.
So, an example would be Amazon Web Services coming out with a new exam, right? So they actually do have a new one coming out. I forget what it's called. Same with CompTIA. They have a couple of new exams coming out as well. So that's kind of the easiest ones to find. Big technology platform is coming out with new certification exam. You can be the first to create a really good course about it, right? So those are probably the best opportunities. But again, those are the topics that require the most ongoing work to keep up to date. Beyond that, think about, what business users need to learn in the workplace, and are people filling that need? So I mentioned earlier that the next thing on my plate is a course about transitioning from engineer to technical manager. Surprisingly, there aren't a lot of courses out there on that. You would think there would be, but if you go and research it, there aren't. And that's something that business customers of Udemy are explicitly asking for. So that's another example of maybe an unexpected opportunity that people can take advantage of.
Since you brought that up, and you're talking about working with a team and stuff too, what are some of the management lessons that you've learned in terms of? I think it's a wake up call for a lot of people to go from technical excellence to managing teams.
Yeah.
So what are some words of wisdom that you could share from your career as a
Well,
manager?
yeah, in the context of, making a small business around creating courses, probably the most important thing is coming up with really crisp, concrete definitions and expectations of the work that you're outsourcing to freelancers, right? So if you go and say, okay, I want to hire someone on Upwork to help develop my curriculum, or to, create this graphic content for my course or whatever, or to edit my videos, if you're not super, super, super specific about what you want, when you want it by, and at what price, it's not going to go well, right? So take the time to really think that through and write it up as thoroughly as possible. You might think to yourself, I'm outsourcing this, so I don't have to think about it. I want to spend a lot of time, specifying it, but you're going to be wasting your time at the end of the day if you do not specify that out as much as possible and get really clear expectations up front, right? So that's number one, just having clear expectations of people. And that applies to any management situation, right? People need to know what you expect of them. And, you need to be giving them constant feedback as to whether or not they're meeting those expectations. So you don't want to surprise anybody at the end of the contract and said, this isn't what I wanted at all. Well, why didn't you tell me that, 3 weeks ago, so, at the end of the day, it comes down to communication, right? So, communicating what you want, whether you're getting what you want, and what corrective action might need to be taken.
Your other evergreen topic that seems to be taking off is interviewing, which I find
Yeah.
interesting. And it seems like a lot of your product market fit has to do with people advancing in their career and getting great jobs. What's the key to a great interview?
Boy, there's not one answer to that,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is just understanding the corporate culture of the company that you're interviewing with. So
Yeah.
for example, if you're interviewing at Amazon, they have a list of leadership principles that are very important to them. For example, being very customer focused. That's like number one. So if you know that Amazon really values customer centricity, you can use that in your interview answers, right? Like if you're giving a technical question, answer it from the perspective of the customer experience that you're trying to deliver. Work backwards from the customer instead of forward from the technology that you want to use. So that's an example of how you can use that knowledge to your advantage. And, it's all the usual stuff like, make sure you're rested, fully caffeinated or whatever, and, be happy, smile, don't come across as a jerk. But really, it comes down to understanding what this company is looking for, and, really appreciating that a lot of the times these company values, they're not just talk. These people who work for these companies are evaluated on how well they embody those values. So they take them very, very, very seriously. And they're going to be looking as to whether you embody those values as well, as much as your technical excellence or your qualifications on paper, right?
I love that. I was just interviewing somebody for a role, and every time I could hear like one of our company values come through in the conversation, I'm like, check, check.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Brand new Udemy instructor. You mentioned look for emerging opportunities that haven't really been covered yet. What other like Udemy tips do you have for somebody who's gonna put some courses up on Udemy and they haven't done it before?
Yeah. I mean, really, topic selection is like number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the list. But beyond that, I'd say audio quality is more important than most people realize. So I see a lot of people who just like stick a phone in front of their face and like, hit record and hope for the best. The video might come out all right, if you got good lighting, but the audio probably not. So the reality is people are going to be listening to you more than they're looking at you, especially because they're going to be watching this on a phone most of the time anyway, right? Or even while they're driving or like during their commute. So think about your audio quality, think about your presentation skills, like practice those if you need to. You don't want to be using a lot of filler words all the time. You don't want to be, going back. I just did it. I said, that's bad.
I saw it. I didn't know if you caught it, but you caught it. You caught yourself doing it.
Yeah. But I did it again. I'm gonna say it all the time now. But yeah, you need to just have like a good dry run of what you're going to present ahead of time, especially if it's something technical and complex. So don't just turn on the camera and hope for the best. Practice it yourself first. Make sure that you're comfortable with the material. Make sure you know what you're going to be presenting and talking about before you hit that record button.
Last question for you, Frank. Many people, really aspire as a course creator to end up with many students, as much revenue, as much like freedom, like you mentioned, to move and stuff like that. That's great, and you're a shining example. But how do you, now that you're here and you've got some success, how do you think about your future as a course creator? Like what's next, or what's the end goal from here?
Gosh, I wish I had long-term goals. um, honestly, I find that you just don't see the best opportunities coming ahead of time. You just have to put yourself out there and, talk to new people and see what comes your way and be willing to try new things. So as far as planning ahead, I don't really do a lot of that. I do plan ahead for, what courses I want to be creating. And as long as there's new opportunities to create new courses that might do well, I'll keep on making them. But, I like where I'm at. I like doing what I'm doing. I like my lifestyle. And I'm not out there to create a multi-million-dollar company and sell it to some other company and go sit on a beach for the rest of my life. Beaches are kind of boring, quite honestly. So um, I like what I'm doing. I like being productive. I like helping people. I like knowing that I'm helping people find new careers around the world. And I can do it all at home on my own schedule. I'm my own boss. What's not to love, right? Why would I want to stop doing that? So my long-term plan is to keep doing this as long as I can.
One more follow-up on that is, as an expert transition to, well, I guess practitioner to manager to educator, how do you stay current in the field?
Yeah, it's not as hard as you might think. Technology changes quickly, but not so quickly that you can't really keep up with it. So the reality is that just teaching this stuff forces you to stay up with it. So when I see a new emerging topic that nobody's done before, if it's something that I'm pretty sure I could pick up, then I'll go off and learn about it. And 9 times out of 10, that's how I stay up to date. If I'm teaching a topic and something new comes up in that topic and that technology that I'm teaching, students are going to complain about it pretty quickly if I'm not covering it and it's out of date. So I'll go off and learn it, right? So just that pressure from the customers to keep your content up to date and accurate all the time. And they'll tell you what topics they want to learn, So just listening to your customers and reacting to that and learning what you need to learn to fill those customer needs. Honestly, I feel like I'm more up to date on technology than I was as a manager at Amazon, because at Amazon, I was just laser focused on the technologies we were using at Amazon. But out here in the real world, I'm seeing all the technologies that all these students across the world are being faced with. So it's actually a much broader and more current snapshot into the world of technology being out here on the outside.
I love that. I love that. I know there's that saying that to teach something is like true mastery or whatever. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, that's Frank Kane. He's at Sundog Software and Sundog Education. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you sharing your Udemy journey, your WordPress journey, and your expert journey. It's awesome what you've done. And wish you all the best on the next decade.
Thanks. And thanks for making LifterLMS. It's been a joy to work with.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMS Cast. Did you enjoy that episode? Tell your friends and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And I've got a gift for you over at LifterLMS.com/gift. Go to LifterLMS.com/gift. Keep learning, keep taking action, and I'll see you in the next episode.